My VS Code is, I guess, visible, right? Let's open a folder here. So many of you guys know React, right? Please tell me in the chat. Okay. So this is a very basic React app without any installations of all other things. Okay. This is just a normal React app, and we will be creating an app where we will be using Firebase to do authentication and data storage and deploy it in Firebase for free. So let's start by downloading few dependencies. The first and foremost thing that you need to use when you are using Firebase with React is the Firebase package itself. So I will download Firebase. Oh, let me just turn it, make the font a little bit bigger. I think this is much more visible right now. So we will install Firebase and two UI libraries that I will be using to create the app in the front end. So let's do Grommet and React Router DOM for the routing purposes. While this is in the making, let's create few of the commonplace apps, commonplace folders like components, context folder. You guys know React context, right? I know it's a bit a high level concept. You know React context, yeah? Have you heard React context? How many of you have heard of React context at first? Tell me. Okay, okay. I will tell you a little bit about React context also then. So as it is downloading, okay, the download has been done. Let me just create few more folders. Component, content, themes, and okay. And let's have a separate folder for Firebase also. I have pre-built the front end, so I will not be showing not much of front end. So I will just copy paste some of the components that I have built, and then I will come to the front end part, Firebase part. I will explain you what is happening where, but we will not be wasting much time in the front end part. So I think this the front end is kind of ready. Okay, I guess I can start. Okay, this is starting. While it is starting, let me show you how to start with the Firebase. So when you are visiting Firebase for the first time, you will see this kind of a tab. I have few projects, so I am seeing this. You may not see this, depending on if you have a existing project or not. So if I want to create a new project, I will click on this app. Enter project name. Let me like just write something like movie. This is optional. You can enable Google Analytics or not. I will not enable it. So I will just click on create project and just wait for a few bit. In the meantime, my okay, let me see. Okay, the fire in the Firebase, I have my project has been built and being ready and has been ready. So you can see Firebase provides quite a lot of things like authentication, files, storage. Like this is actually a database. Then crash analytics, performance analysis, and hell lot of things. So you can Firebase is quite a pretty powerful tool. So we will be showing you the very basic stuffs like how to use the database, how to do authentication like using sign in with Google and all other stuff. And we will be also showing you how to deploy your app through Firebase. Okay, the React project is starting. It is taking a bit of time. Let's see. Okay, it is erroring out quite a bit. Fire. Okay, okay, I see why it is erroring. Something is up here. Okay, I think we will be up here. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, we will be going in the Firebase part a little bit. So, I guess now my app should be up and working better. Okay, the app is up and working. So I will be telling you through this app. This is basically app that I have pre-built. So I will be explaining you the Firebase part through this app. This is basically a movie app where you can see the movies and its ratings and all other things. And the data will be coming from a database. And I will also show you how the login part is doing. Okay. So let me first start. This is basically the simple app.js of a React website where we are using a use state and all. And this is basically the React router part. I have two routes. The first route, which is the root, which is actually pointed to a component called home, and I have another route called sign in, which is assigned to a component called sign in. And the app basically looks like this. I have this app here and a sign in page here, over here, where there is a sign in with Google. Okay. So let me at first show you how to read and write data through Firestore. When you open the Firestore in a new app, you can see there is something called in the build. There is something called Firestore database. There are two databases in build: Firestore database and a real-time database. Real-time database is basically a database where which can read write things very fast in a milliseconds of time. But the main downside is it cannot handle a much complex type of data, like a data which has nested elements in it, or something like which can take a lot of time to process. So real-time database is fast but lacks on the complexity part. So if you can try, if you have a data that is not time sensitive in the sense after 2 or 3 seconds, if the data loses its value, then go for real time database or just go for Firestore database. This is a normal database like MongoDB, MySQL, all other things. This is a NoSQL database, by the way. So when you create a cloud Firestore, you will be greeted with something like this: create a database. We will be starting in a test mode, so we will be creating next. If you can guys continue with me, that will be like really easy. Then I can also know what's going on in your computer. We will be selecting a location. I will be selecting Mumbai because Mumbai is very near to us compared to all other locations. So we'll be clicking on enable. I have a data set right here. This is basically a Kaggle data set containing all the movies, all the top 250 movies of IMDb. So I will be uploading this thing to my database just for the sample data purpose, so that I can have some data what I will be showing you. So the database has been created. Because I am in the testing part, it may deny me some reads and writes. So I will make sure to change this rule. This is very important. I do think this is enough. Let's see. So I have this Kaggle dataset called data.json, where you can see it is an array of JSON documents having the same structure, rank, name, year, and all other things. Now my work is to push this data to this database up in the cloud in the Firestore database. So at first, what you need to do is you need to go to project overview or settings. In this settings, you can see this code icon. Because I will be using web, so I will be clicking in this icon. If you are using Android, click on this Android icon, and iOS are, if you are working with Unity engine or Flutter, you can click the corresponding icons. As I am working with the web, so I will clicking in this code icon. So I have to register my app here. Let me name my app movie. You can name anything. I will be clicking the Firebase hosting right here because I will be deploying this app here later. I will be clicking it here. Now it shows me how to do these things. You can see it gives me the npm install Firebase that we have done earlier, and this configuration is really important. You should keep this configuration private to yourself, otherwise everyone will have access to this. I'll be copying this here and keeping it in a file called, in the Firebase folder I have a file called Firebase configuration. This is basically, it stores the Firebase configuration here. Firebase configuration of all the things, like what the Firebase gave us for the database to connect to the database. Then I will be clicking next. I don't need the Firebase tools right now, and it also shows us how to do Firebase deploy. So what this will, I will be doing it later. So now I have came back to the Firestore database. Now what I need to do is I need to initialize Firestore for this. So this is actually where the Firestore comes in. In the Firestore, actually, you can see in the Firebase config. Let me show you what is going on. From the Firebase package, I have a sub package called app, and from which I am importing a function called initialize app. The initialize app takes this app as a, this config as a argument, and I assign this to a variable called app, and I would export it so that I can use this app in other places. So after exporting this app, I come to this Firestore. In this Firestore, I am importing the app that is exported from this file, and then I have few functions that I have already written here. This is a write function. This is used to write the data to Firestore, and this is a read all function that I will talk to you in later stages, and this read paginated function. Now our work is to get this JSON document to that Firestore. So I have this JSON document right here. If you can see here, this JSON document has these fields. So I will be looping over through these fields in this file, and every time I loop over a file, I will do a write. This write function is actually from the Firestore file, where I will be using this write function, and in this write function I have this setDoc function. This setDoc function also comes from the Firebase package which has a Firestore as a sub package. This set doc actually writes this whole document that is coming this data to that Firestore, to Firestore right here. This set doc actually takes another document. This is basically a document reference that I can say. This is basically object that has custom object which for the Firestore, that is also being imported from the Firebase package, and it takes the data DB. This DB is actually get Firestore app. This initializes the Firestore database in our program. Get Firestore. This get Firestore takes the app configuration coming from the Firebase config and deploys a database. This this document takes the DB in which the database in which this is not an actually database. This is actually a collection. For the ease of understanding, I have named it DB, but this is actually a collection because this is the Firebase actually uses a model called document collection concept, where every document is a part of collection. Collection is something called group of documents, so every document is in a group of some other document, kind of a cascading effect. Okay, set update and other functions also. Can you please show that again? That rules part. By the which part which part are you talking about? Please tell me again. Which part are you talking about? That Firebase config? Oh, acha, okay. I got it. I got it. The Firebase rules part. Okay. I have not changed anything in the rules part because already it is in a test mode. So it will allow every read and write which has a timestamp that is greater than 2023 331. लेस देन सॉरी रिक्वेस्ट मतलब मार्च 31 से पहले जो भी आएगा रिक्वेस्ट उसका अलाउ कर देगा यहाँ पर रीड एंड राइट दिस इज व्हाट यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट राइट ओके if you start this database in a test mode you do not have to change any rules. If you are starting in a production mode then you may have to change few rules to allow read and write, because if you are starting in a production mode then the Firebase then the Firestore by default denies all read and write until and unless you are coming from a client library like Axios or something like that. If the client is a web type, it will deny the access. As we are in a testing mode, so it will allow us the read and writes. Okay. Now coming to the writing part. This is actually it will create a movies collection in the Firestore, and then this is basically the kind of a primary key here. You know primary key in the database world, right? Primary key is something that uniquely identifies all the records in a database. Like you cannot have a duplicate of this value. If you have like a user which has a any user which has ID 1, it should have some anything else than ID equal to 1. It can have ID 2, ID ABCD, anything. And then the other part of the data. I will be running this and showing you how to do this. All the code will be available in the GitHub. I will give you the link there after this. You can just go through and play with this code as much as. Okay. Now let me show you how to upload. This is all already the data is there. So what I will be doing is I will be using a use effect function because I will not be tying it with the React lifecycle. So I will be making a way out. And I will be running the data upload function. The upload function is actually, let me show you. This upload function loops through the data.json, and every time it takes the one JSON part and writes it to the Firebase. So at first, let's just do it. Use effect. Things are really similar if you are working with the HTML part also. Let me see. It should run. Let's see. Okay. The data has been ran. Yep, okay. Configuration not found. Okay. Data added undefined. Something went wrong here. Okay. Something have went wrong here. Let's see what has went wrong. Okay, configuration not found. Let's see what's the problem in here. There are some problems I can see. It is giving us 400 somehow. Let's see why it is giving us 400. Okay, the data has came somehow. Something had went wrong because of that. It is giving us the data. The data has, if, as you can see, the data has came in the Firestore. So as what I was talking about, the document collection model. So movies is a collection that I had created in here in the firestore.js. This movies is actually the collection name. You can see the movies part, and now it has movies called 1 to around 250. This is actually a asynchronous network request, so it did not go in a orderly fashion. This is the data.rank. If you see the data.json, there was something named rank. So I have used this rank to uh, get all the data. Like I have used this rank like a primary key through which I can refer to this whole document. I have used this here, and all the rank parts are actually, the rank is actually unique. So I thought, why not use it as a primary key? So these these I have used, and the whole data part is here. This data is actually this whole data. This box office and all have went in this part, and just the primary key part has went in here, data.rank. So as the data has been written, there are two other things that I would need to do. What if I need to read all the documents from the database? Then I can use another function called getDocs. This getDocs is also coming from the Firestore part. This getDocs takes a collection which takes a database instance, the database instance that is get Firestore app, and the name of the collection. This returns as actually a array. This array contains doc id and doc data. So I am collecting this doc.data actually and storing it in an array, and finally returning the array to be used in another. another component or something. And this is something called read paginated. So if you, the main problem is if you have a large enough object or a large enough collection, then if you have to fetch the whole collection in one go, it takes a lot of time, and your application becomes slow. To counter that, we can get the data in parts. To get the data in parts, I have something called read paginated. If you are using Google search, then you are familiar with the Google search results, like that. We have like the page one where we mostly visit page two, page three, and something like that. We can do this same thing using this function. It takes a start part. This start is actually the value of this rank. If you can see here, this is I am using start. This is actually a parameter here. It creates a collection same as here. This collection, I have just assigned it to another variable collection, and a query. This query is a special function of Firestore. This Through this query, you can create multiple simple and complex queries that you do usually with the SQL databases. Where this will be taking the database instance, then something called order by. This order by is actually orders the whole incoming data in a ascending or descending fashion, depending on the field you pass, the field name you pass. I have passed a something called ranking. Let's see, this is ranking. It will see when the request is fired, it will come here. It will loop through each of the document. In each document, it will see the ranking and its value. This value have to be an integer or a numeric value at least, so that it can arrange it in a ascending or descending fashion. As this ranking is a integer, as you can say, no double quotes, so it will by default arrange it in a ascending fashion, and the data will be starting at a start. This is basically a value that can I specify. If I want to say like get all the movies which has a ranking from like 30 to 40, or like something like that, so I will pass 30 here. The start I will pass 30, and the limit is 10. Limit means it will always give me the 30 plus 10 dollars, plus 10 dollars, matlab 30, from 30 to 40. All the movies from 30 to 40 will be fetched by this query if I pass the start as 30. If I pass start as 1, then it will go from 1 to 10, like that. You can change this limit to something like end at. This end at does the same part. You can say like something. You can take the index in which you want to stop the fetching. I can give like start plus 10, start plus 9. The work will be same. Okay, I have. Let me just take it off. I will not post the data every time I just run the app. So to make sure that I omitted a few extra lines. To make that sure, I am just commenting out the use effect part. Okay. Now you can see I am getting the data here, and let me show you where this thing is originated. You can see here are two sections: trending and all-time hits. In every section, basically there are 10 documents. You can count, there are 10 documents. So in the reach paginated function, here I have a component called trending. In the trending component, I am using use effect hook again and passing read paginated 1. This basically, if I go again to the read paginated, this start value is coming as 1. In my database, I have okay. Basically, I have overriding the uh, automatically generated primary that document ID, because if it is automatically generated, then I can have problems like reference error where I do not know the particular ID the document is going to have. To override that only, I am using this special kind of write where I can specify which document, which field to use as a document ID. The thing that you are seeing here, data.rank in a set doc thing. This actually specifies which field I want to use as a document ID. If you want to just use upload the document without any document ID, then you can use a function called add doc. Add doc will directly take the document and just upload it, and the document ID will be automatically generated. Okay. To override that only, because I will be doing order by and all other stuff. Sometimes I will be using like get by ID. So I just want to keep the control of the ID. So that's why I am just overriding the auto generated part. In the read paginated section, I am just passing 1. So for the trending part, I will get all the movies which have a rank of 1 to 10. And in the all-time hits part I have very similar thing. Just I have passed read paginated 11. In this read paginated 11, it means that I will get all the movies which has a rank from 11 to 20. Like that, this is working. I am just limiting how much data I will get every time. Or otherwise, if I am getting the whole data, then I have to parse this whole data and slice it using JavaScript, which will be a bit more slower than just fetching only the part of the data from the database itself. So this is actually the reading and writing part. I am just scoring over very quickly because it's like quite a detailed part. I will giving you the code, and you can play with it and understand it a lot more. And for the then comes another thing in my app, something called login. You can see these buttons like, right, sign in with Google. So if I click this, you can see this app window just came and went by. For this, actually, I have to enable the authentication. To use sign in with Google, I have to enable what is called authentication. This you will also get in the build part. I will click authentication, get started, and you can have multiple types of authentication you can see. And I will just go with Google. I will click it enable, and you have to select a project support email and click set, and that's it. And the rest of the part I will show you right now. Okay, you can see Google is enabled, and now I will show you how I am doing this part in the authentication. In the authentication, I am getting from the Firebase slash auth, get auth, and Google auth provider, because I am using sign in with Google, so I will be using Google auth provider here. This Google auth provide and the app part, that is also going from the Firebase config. So Firebase config is actually a common theme in all the Firebase services that we use. So I prefer to keep it separate and use just the app part everywhere I use. And then I am creating a provider, something called, I have creating a authentication instance called using getauth, and a provider, because I am using sign in with Google, so I will be using Google auth provider. If I have to use Facebook, then I will use Facebook auth provider, like that, which also comes from here. You can see like If I, like, you can see Facebook auth provider coming here. It's that easy. And I will be exporting auth and provider from here. And the work is done from the Firebase side. Then I have to go to the React. In React part, there is something called sign in with pop-up. That also finally comes from Firebase and authentication, Firebase slash auth. And this takes away the heavy work. You just have to make it show and it will take over. I have basically a button here and a button which uh, just shows you sign in with Google with a Google logo. Auth's acha. Auth's username as a primary key. Okay. You can get it through the authentication. I will also show you how to get the user's name and picture. There I will show you how to get the user's name. Then you can just push it in the Firestore using another collection, or if you have a logic like that, you can get the user's name, photo, and all other stuff. This is basically just the button. If I am showing you, this button is being displayed here. If I click this, okay, give me a second. Okay, now you can see the sign in with Google part is coming. If I click this, it will take a bit more time, and the data has come. You can see my image has also come. I will show you how I got this image here. So in the header bar section, actually, where I have to get, if you are, let me show you what you get after the login becomes successful. Let me, where it is, in the app.js. In the app.js, if you get the login successful or a sign up successful, you get this document and all other fields. I have just filtered out and got the important parts here. UID, basically a unique user's ID that you can use as a primary key for your database. A email, if the email is verified by the user or not, this is a boolean value. A display name, the user's name. Is basically like if the user is anonymous or not. The photo URL is actually from where you get the photo of the user, the profile photo of the user, and all other stuff here. Access token, refresh token, which you can use further on. Yeah, you can get the recording of the session. You can get the recording and the code also. And using the React context, React state, like, right? React states, state, the concept of state in React. Just tell me yes or no in chat. Guys, do you know state in React? What is a state in React? State is basically something, we use variables in a normal programming language to store data. So this is basically an analogous part in React where you can store like data in a component. Component can be something like a button. Button can have some value depending on which the button can change something. So this is basically a state. In React, we have a concept called one-way data flow. And the one-way data flow is you can have a parent component and a child component like that. And the data can only flow from parent to child. And if you just want a data from if you just want a data which does not belong to your parent but just from any other part of the tree, then there is a problem called prop drilling, where you just have to pass the prop from one component to another continuously without any use, which makes the app like really non-optimized. So React context API that comes built in with React. You can also use something called Redux for that. So where you will be getting this, the state will be abstracted away from the React lifecycle. So the state variables will be separated, and the whole HTML rendering will be separated. So in this way, you can get all the things. Okay. Where was I? So this is actually using a React context in background to push this data in a global state. And in the header bar section, I am getting this here called login info dot photo URL. This login info is actually here. Login info dot photo URL. I am just passing this photo URL, and it is fetching you are fetching the image and pushing it to the user's dashboard here. And I can also handle the logout. Logout is something just you need to clear the states and the variables. Like if you are using HTML, then you have to clear the local storage or session storage, and you will be logged out. This is the whole thing. If I click here log out, my photo will be vanished. You can see my photo just vanished off, and this is how things are working. There is a lot more depth to it, which is like which I cannot cover in this short period of time. I will be providing you the code. You just go through the code. If you face any problem, just contact me. I'll be really happy to help with the small technicalities that I overlook here. Coming to the deployment part, this deployment part will be handled by Priyashu. Priyashu is there, I don't know. Priyashu will show you how to deploy the app. Priyashu is there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hello. So everyone, let me share my screen.
I will be providing you the code codes link, GitHub link right here. Just give me a second.
Okay. So my screen is visible, right?
Yeah, yeah, yes, screen is visible.
Okay. So this was all about authentication and storing the data to Firestore. Now I'll be giving a view on how we can actually deploy the website to URL called something like something.web.app. That's actually Firebase own hosting that it provides. We can also give our custom hostings. So let's have a look at it. This is a Firebase project, right? So for hosting, first our Firebase is already set up here and it's running. I think yeah, it's running in my local host. This is the website. So I think you guys are clear up till here about what Shomalada said. So let's proceed from here. So for hosting, you have to first activate the hosting function from Firebase. That is when you go to build and there is a option for hosting. Okay. So here I need to give get started. And this is Firebase only guides me about what I need to do. So I think most of you have already installed this. If not, let me install it again. Mhm. So once it's done, we can proceed. So have you guys ever deployed anything before? like any website or something, either through Netlify or something like that. Okay, so you have used Firebase only or Netlify or Vercel, something like that. Netlify. So can you tell the difference between hosting a site on Netlify or Vercel and then hosting it on Firebase? Any difference? Why we should choose Firebase and not Netlify and Vercel? When we know that it's very easy to host on Netlify, you can just drag and drop things. Any guesses? Okay, so it's done. Let's proceed. Okay, now I think this is also done by most of you, so let's redo it. No, not actually more control. We can host static sites on Netlify and Vercel, but sites with backend we cannot host on Netlify and Vercel. For that, we need Firebase hosting or some other hosting providers. So Firebase provides that option. Okay, so I'm already logged in. Let's do the init thing, Firebase init. You guys know anything about CI/CD? What is CI/CD or something like that? We often say that let's host a website with CI/CD enabled. You guys have any idea on that? What's that? Okay. So here are the options that Firebase provides, which I am going to choose. I will be choosing on hosting. So let's proceed. I'll be using an existing project. Okay, okay, got it. Now here comes the twist. Here the default directory is going to be public. We need to change it to build. So whenever you have done hosting on Netlify, right? So what we do is that when we don't set up CI/CD, we do npm run build and then drag and drop the build folder to Netlify, right? So here also the build that will be going to the hosting provider, it will be going through the build folder. So let's create that. Okay. Now here comes the CI/CD part. I'll be not going with the GitHub deployment. I'll be going with static deployment for now. You can go with GitHub deployment. For that, you need to do yes here. If you do yes, it will tell you to select the repository in which you want to do the CI/CD. It will automatically add the GitHub actions in that to set up CI/CD. It means CI/CD generally means, those who don't know, CI/CD means that you can set up a branch from which you can directly host your website. So whenever you push anything, any update to that branch, it will be automatically updated to the hosting. So let's go with without for now. Okay, so Firebase initialization is complete here. Now the next thing is that I need to create the build folder. So npm run build. Let's create the build. So have you guys worked on REST APIs, like REST APIs connected to MongoDB and some other databases like this, apart from Firebase, like on Munstack or Meanstack? If yes, you have worked on, then can you state the difference? Like, what's the difference of using Firebase, I mean Firestore, and what's and normal MongoDB through REST APIs? Any difference in that? you want to check? Hello.
Ah, you are audible.
Okay.
Netlify more control.
That I
Yeah,
already
maybe.
told. That I already told that you can host static websites on Netlify, but for dynamic websites with backend, we need to host it on Firebase or similar services.
Yeah, Netlify doesn't support backend unless you
Yeah,
are using Next.js, I think.
yeah. Next it allows. Oh, that's actually server side handling.
Yeah,
So,
you can go with Vercel also in that case.
hmm. So what I was saying was that we have used database like MongoDB with REST APIs, and now we learned about how to uh, host a database on Firestore. So what's the main difference on it? Like why should we use Firestore when we have already options for REST API through MongoDB using? So the main difference that counts here is that Firestore provides us with the facility of auto data upgrade. That means that we can stream data directly from Firebase. We don't need to update our screen; it will automatically get updated. But when we use REST APIs, we need to refresh our screen whenever the data gets updated to see the effect. So that's the main difference. We can do this using normal DBs, but for that we need to use socket programming, which is like quite difficult to handle. So I think the build is done. Yeah. So let's deploy. It's very easy to deploy with Firebase. Just write Firebase deploy and we're ready to go. Okay. So deployment is done. Let's see. Let's open our localhost, and here is the link for this thing. Okay, both of them won't match. So this is the hosted link here, and you can see this is a publicly available link. I'm giving you the link. You guys can also check. I think one. Yes, like localhost. That's not actually what it does. That's actually a feature of React that whenever we update something on the code, it auto refreshes, auto reverts. So yeah, Firebase helps in that thing. It builds a stream of data. So whenever you do any update on that data or you add a new collection, it automatically gets updated. So if you want to make something like a counter, like you are one taking in registrations and you want to take a live count of number of registrations, you can use Firebase for that. And the registration counts will be like in real time. That can be done using Firestore. For that, you need to use Stream. There is a package for that also. And so this is the hosted link of the web. So do let me know if it's working for you guys also. I think it will work. So let us explore a few other things. Okay, so our deployment is done. And whenever you go to this page of hosting, you can see the deployed links here. So this is the deployed links and it will give you the time for like it's currently I've deployed and this is the current. If I do another deployment here, it will show above it and the current one will be marked like this. So we can keep track of all the deployments and if we have if by any chance we have done something wrong or we have deployed something wrong, we can actually revert back to the old one. That's actually a very good thing that supports. Also, we can add our custom domain For that, we need to give our domain here. Like if you, okay, so Firebase does not go through that Google authentication that we usually do. Normally, when we do Google authentication, we usually do that using JWT tokens, right? So Firebase does not have any JWT tokens or something like that. One thing I'm showing you, wait, let me show you them. Okay, so this is what Firebase does is when you go to inspect and you go to sources and then here. Okay, so this is the thing that Firebase leaks out. So whenever we do this type of things in normal websites, we don't usually see this type of things like the API key, auth domain. Some people might say that it's exposed, right? So any website you are accessing, which is using Firebase in the backend, it will have exposed APIs keys. It will have exposed auth domains. Okay. So there might be things like of course obfuscated things where you won't be able to see this, but in that obfuscated text, when you search, you will get to see things like this. And no, Firebase authentication is slower than other normal JWT authentication. That is because of all this. It does not uses JWT in authentication, it uses its own token. So that is why it's slow.
It has its own proprietary technology behind.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the difference. Whenever we do normal authentication or normal backend connection, we don't usually get this API key and all. But we can't access anything using this API key because of these rules that we have set up. That is in the Firestore. The rules that we have set up in Firestore that won't allow us to access anything. So there is a whole new thing to learn on Fire, writing rules on Firestore. It's a very important thing. If you don't write proper rules in Firestore, then it's like your project is like open to everyone.
Compromised.
Yeah. So whenever you are making any project with Firestore, be sure that your rules are tight enough. For example, let it load. I'm sure. So here it's written that read allow write if true. So it will read allow write true for any access that I will make, right? So for example, if I open any website, where is the website here? And if I open console and write something here and want to access from here, I can easily get the data from here. I can get pull my whole database from here. So for that, you need to add proper rules out here so that your data don't get compromised that easily. That's the difference. So I think the deployment part is clear to everyone. If you guys want to explore, you can explore the setting up the CI/CD part using GitHub. It's also very simple. Apart from that, if you want to explore Firebase more, I would say that uh, try to use Firebase storage also. You can be used for image storage, but I would suggest apart from that, don't use Firebase storage. Use Cloudinary or some other solutions. You can use one more thing that is often in some websites. You find things like notifications. Here a pop-up comes like allow or reject. For that, you can
Yeah.
use this cloud messaging
Go with,
thing.
if you want OTP, you can go with Trello also. Yes, if you
No,
can
this
show
cloud
them Trello
messaging is
also.
a different thing. Cloud messaging is like
No, no,
in
I know.
website notifications.
Yeah, that I know.
Yeah, Trello is for like OTP authentication. That Firebase also gives inbuilt. Like for example, if you want to go to authentication, and there are different
There is
methods
something
out
of
here.
phone numbers here.
You add new provider, and there is a lot new options here. We can add phone and take up authentication service. That's
In
all about.
Firebase, actually, the main trade-off is you lose control.
Yes.
The
So the
control is
main
taken by
problem
the
here is
Google.
if you can set up the rules properly, then it's all fine. If you can't, then you're exposed. So I would suggest if you are working on some project which you are planning to uh, build on production, then I would suggest don't use Firebase, use manual things. Or as a project purpose, if you are making things, then go for Firebase. And if you are a fan of open source, then you can use that thing. But to say,
super base.
नहीं नहीं सुपर बेस
super
नहीं,
base
वो
नहीं है?
क्या बोलते हैं, फायरबेस ओपन सोर्स कुछ तो था, एपराइट. You can use
Yeah,
Upright.
app right. Yeah, you can
It's
use app right.
similar to Firebase and it's free. Okay, so this is the thing you can use. It also supports our extensive yeah Upright.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this was all about today. If you guys have any problem, then you can say. And for more queries, if you face any problem later, you can reach me out on my LinkedIn. Here is my LinkedIn link. So thank you everyone.
Okay, just wait for a few minutes. I will be giving you the link of the code. Just wait for a few minutes.
Okay, some good resources for Firestore. I would suggest you to go for YouTube. That's everything is there. You have to just find out something out of there or some Stack
Or
Overflow.
or just go for
Something.
Firestore docs. If you open the Firebase, there is
Yeah,
in
it's
the
also good.
right side top there is something called docs. You can go through docs, and it's a bit boring, but it's a detailed details overview.
Yeah, so this is how we go to docs. This is the docs.
If you are working in the technical world, then just make a habit of reading docs.
Yeah, sure. But for beginners, someone might have problems in docs.
Yeah,
So in
for the
that case,
beginners, YouTube is okay. I have given the link of the code. You can just go in and play with it as much as like you can want. If you can improve it, then it will be a really plus. It's a incomplete
if you
project.
can work on that project, do raise a peer on the project. We'll surely merge it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.